Here we go!
Get that last no-scope kill and hit pause. It's time for the video game podcast where the Konami code is alive and well. The console wars don't exist. Rings are just as valuable as coins. Pots are not safe from swords. Giant robots kick ass. And fireballs are a perfectly acceptable weapon in a fist fight. That's right, it's time for the Super Gamer Bros Podcast Ultra Hyper Alpha Super EX Double Impact Plus A Live. Settle in and let's get to gaming.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Super Gamer Bros Live after some technical issues, and I don't know what else happened. I kind of imploded. My computer wanted to implode. We've been playing online and having fun. So we didn't get to our part 2 of Get Over Here, look at video game movies. So we're going to do that today. I'm one of your fun gamers. I'm Slayton on Xbox. You can find me always. I practically live on my Xbox, just so you know. Joined, as usual, by my super fun normal co-host.
I am super fun. This is Cynic. Hello, hello.
I think I gave you too much credit saying you're super fun, so I take it back.
I'm taking it. I'm taking it. You can't take it back.
And,
I'm super fun
of course, our lovely gameress, Pocky D.
I am also super fun and should not be left out in the sunlight. Like super fun ball.
You really, really should get some sun, though. Like, you and I are like Casper White. Look at this. We're like almost see-through. Like,
Yeah.
Cynic's like, I don't know about y'all. I got a nice tan. I'm outside.
I do get outside just a little bit.
Actually, what's hilarious is I actually really do have a lot of sun. I change car batteries and stuff for people. I work at an auto parts place, so I actually got a lot of sun. It's just this is somehow actually eating my fairly dark tan on my arms, which is weird.
Here's what needs some sun. I'm a little nervous because I'm thinking of the beard. Like, it's been fun trying it out, but I'm probably gonna get rid of it pretty soon. And I was like, well, what's this gonna look like now? Because this is like blindingly white. If you see it in person, like, it looks like, okay, the rest of my body it probably gets some sun, and you look under here and you're like, God almighty, no sun whatsoever. So that'll be interesting.
No. Cynic is a person who used to be a full bearded human. I will have to warn you, just prepare to have your lower neck look like chopped beef because it hasn't been touched by a blade in a while. So it's just gonna be like, why, what's with all this blood? Why am I bleeding like a stuck cow?
You made me bleed my own blood.
Oh, I'm sure I'll figure it out. I've been shaving for a long time before this whole thing happened. So I'm sure we'll get used to it again.
Oh, I used to shave. I used to work at Fry's, and we were required to be clean shaven at the time. And I had a beard for like
tyrants.
Yeah, I had a beard for like 10 years. Yeah, when the beard came off to become Cassie, it was, oh God, my neck was sore.
I don't know. I don't know if I'll shop at Fry's anymore after hearing about that.
You can't. They're closed.
Yeah,
they're all out of business.
They went out of business.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, they tried to be.
Neither did the employees, apparently.
I will do an entire video later on why the fall of Fry's happened, but basically the president of Fry's wanted them to be the Walmart of electronics.
Well, that's what it was like. I did like shopping at Fry's, which is why I liked going there. They had any and every electronic you could think of, like, no problem there. So anytime I went electronic shopping, that's pretty much where I went. Right around the corner, it's the best place to go.
Well,
so
right around the corner from us, dude. That's on the other side of town.
It was right around the corner from where I used to live.
Oh, I forgot you just moved over this way.
Yeah, I've only been in Maynard for a couple of years now. It's coming up. Yeah.
I've always lived in Leander, and it was always an hour drive for me to get to work.
Yeah, I live literally maybe 10 minutes at most. 5-10 minutes. I lived right next to Fry's, really. So I'm a little bummed out. Bummed out to hear it's gone. I'm guessing COVID had something to do with that, as it does everything at this point.
We will literally do a
whole
video
other story.
On the death price.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to part 2 today.
We're going off topic. Part 2 movies. Yeah. Okay.
Of our video game movies. So
Before
we talked about everything
did you go to the grand opening of Fry's?
Why are we still talking about fries?
No, because I want to know if I
Stop it,
met
Pocky.
him.
Fat Pocky. I will mute you.
I mute myself.
We tried getting off track, but where did we start? Stopped off at what? Tomb Raider last time, Pocky said?
We left off on DOA because we made the joke about how do you do a DOA movie, a Dead or Alive movie, and keep it PG.
I don't know how you do it, but I do know that you do it with Liu Kang, Robin Shao, the actor who played Liu Kang in the original Mortal Kombat. You do it by your character, kind of a throwaway punching bag, and you do it with Kevin Nash as Bass, which couldn't have been cast any more perfectly. So those are the two things I have to say about it.
Look,
is our keeper of the list. So What is next?
So I'm just going to say it, and then we're going to skip it. Because we've talked about all the movies so far, but it's Resident Evil Extinction, which is movie 4 of that series. I don't know.
3.
After that,
and
3.
It's 3, and I only have one thing to say about it. Resident Evil, the first one, and Apocalypse were fun. They have their fun moments. I like, especially the first one. I like them. Pretty well done for what it was at the time. Resident Evil Extinction, as soon as the credits started, they had one of those. The movie opens up and then you have a wall of text telling you what happened. Apocalypse ended pretty much perfectly. This movie started out with a wall of text that says, hey, the T-virus has infected the planet, which is not how viruses work. And it turned the planet into a desert, Mad Max style. And before the credits were even done, before the first shot even came on, I was tuned out immediately.
No. For me, when they killed the former pimp turned zombie slayer, they killed him. I was like, this movie's done. There's no more movie. You killed my character. They
killed Mike Epps, and he was one of the most fun characters from Apocalypse for sure.
Right.
And but you meet Claire. I think Claire appeared for the first time in that one, and she starts getting psychic powers. But I mean,
okay, so we're moving on now.
Yeah, we're moving on because the planet's a desert, and who gives a shit at this point?
So
viruses don't infect planets.
We also get the third. Yes, third. We get the third Yui Bowl movie, Postal.
I don't understand how people let people in this man make movies.
Did he do Postal or did he do Blood Rain?
He did both. He did, like I said, this is his third video game movie.
Yeah, we talked about House of the Dead, which is his first one, I think.
Yes, and he did House of the Dead, which had nothing but more Matrix references in it. And then he did Alone in the Dark, and then this is his fourth, because Alone in the Dark was his 2, so this is movie 4. So yeah, the Postal, which is the only movie, in my opinion, he got right. Because
it's hard to mess that one up.
I never watched it. I missed it.
It was raunchy. It was offensive. It was basically the video game. If you play Postal, the video game, it's like someone told you, it's a movie about, like, he just made it about the extensiveness of America, and pretty much he got Postal right.
Okay. That actually might be a fun watch to go take a look at it. Is it literally the only watchable Uwe Boll movie at this point? I know you love House of the Dead.
It's the only watchable. It's the only watchable video game Uwe Boll movie. Because the Wolves of Wall Street, the one he did about like a couple of years ago, is actually really, really, really good.
Wait,
he did not do Wolf of Wall Street.
Not Wolves of the Wolf of Wall Street, the Leonardo DiCaprio one. He did another movie. He did a movie that's like almost similar to it. I'll have to look it up. But,
I was gonna say, man.
but while we do that, let's talk about one of the few fairly accurate movies, and that's Hitman.
Yes.
Now,
I'm surprised more people don't like these.
Hitman's come out a couple of times, hadn't it? The only one I can think of was Timothy Olyphant. So there was a one before that came before that. When did that come out?
There wasn't. It was just him, wasn't it?
Was it?
They made 2 of them.
What's that?
With him?
The Yeah, I think they made 2 movies with him.
Hold on,
Okay.
I'm looking. Yeah, Hitman Agent 47. That's a ways down the list. We're not going there, but that's not until 2015.
But no, that was actually worthwhile.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
It's stuck closer to the source material than a lot of the later movies did.
And it was well shot enough, and Timothy Olyphant is awesome. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of people shat on that movie, and I didn't really see why. It wasn't worth crapping all over. It wasn't that
because
bad.
Look at what we had beforehand.
Which
was
like
another bad video game movie.
Yeah, but I mean, at that point, shouldn't you have you have a lot of crap to compare, and then you go, this one's decent.
Also, you got to remember the marketing for this movie really did exist. This movie came out. Hold on, I gotta go back. November 21st, 2007. So I want to check something real fast because I have a feeling I know what comes out about this time. But yeah, they didn't market this movie at all, hardly. Like, it's kind of one of those. I saw it in the theaters, but it was by like, holy crap, the Hitman movie's out. When did that happen?
I think if we're going in any kind of chronological order, I have to say, if we're talking about Uwe Boll as well, I have to mention Blood Rain, which had Christina Loken, and Christina Loken couldn't have been more perfectly cast.
He doesn't want to wait for us to get to the list. He wants to talk about it now.
He wants, but well, that's because it happened like
Wait, which
like
movie?
2005 or 6 or something. Blood Rain.
Yeah, we're in 2016. We were 2006. We were past that.
2016? Really?
No, 2006. 2016.
20.
Let's say 2006. This is 2006.
Yeah. So I knew Blood Rain came way before Hitman. Yeah, we're jumping way ahead. I had to mention
2007 is when Hitman. So we already did Blood Rain. There's a second Blood Rain movie you were thinking of, and it's a bit down the line, actually.
Both of them are bad, as far as I understand. I just know Christina Loken was perfectly cast, and Michael Madsen was also, I would say, cast, and it just wasn't good. It didn't live up to the hype, and I wish it did, but Uwe Boll directed it, so those are all perfectly fine actors, especially Christina Loken. So what can you do?
Oh, I see why no one remembers this movie coming out. It came out the same week as Enchanted, Christmas, and Stephen King's Mist. That's the week. That's the week. And the week before that was Mr. McGuire's Wonder Emporium and Beowulf. So like all the marketing went to Beowulf because that's the live action. Do you get to see somebody naked movie?
It was a live action. It was motion capture.
It was. I remember when the trailer first came out for Beowulf, and the first few scenes really had me fooled because they were in the dark and in the rain, like the trailer for it. And it took me a second to go, "What? Okay, yeah, this is CG. Jesus, this looks good."
I love that movie. I love that story.
Still love that movie.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like the reason, like I
wish it were a video game so we could talk about it more, but we can't. We can't talk about Beowulf. We have to talk about Assassin's Creed eventually.
Postal?
What's after? No, we already did Postal. We did Hitman. I
can't keep up now. What's next?
Okay, what's after that is another Uwe Boll movie, In the Name of the King, a Dungeon and Siege tale.
Can we just skip past this one?
Sure. The only thing I can say about it is seeing Smokey from Smokey and the Bandit, or the Bandit from Smokey and the Bandit. Like just drunk, sitting on a throne, not giving a shit.
There for a paycheck.
And I'm confused.
And
which is this for?
After a Uwe Boll disaster that is In the Name of the King and Dragon Sea Shell, Uwe Boll's Far Cry the movie.
Far Cry? He did Far Cry? I did not know that.
No, he did.
I did not. What? How awful.
If you watch the Far Cry movie, you'll know it's got awful. There's a scene where like a zombie's just being shot and it's still walking.
Does he play games? Is he a gamer?
No,
does he actually love video games and respect their stories?
Video games. No, he does not respect the stories.
I swear to God, if they ever hand him the reins of Mass Effect, I will burn BioWare to the ground.
No, he has not made.
Wasn't there? What video game company fought against Uwe because Uwe said, "Hey, I want to do this movie," and the company came back and said, "No, you're not." Is it Blizzard? I want to say it was Warcraft. I want to say it was Blizzard.
No,
I want to say it was
Blizzard.
Yeah.
Uwe wanted to make the Warcraft movie.
That's a little down the line, but Blizzard came out and straight up said, "No, not this guy. No, thank you."
Yeah, I think the quote was, "We wanted someone successful."
Yes, and
someone
halfway
who
decent.
Doesn't suck at life.
Which is why I probably I never heard Far Cry was a movie made by Uwe Boll. I'm kind of glad I didn't know right up until now. I'm a big fan of.
Now it hurts your soul. It hurts your gamer soul to know that this man made another shitty video game movie.
It does. It looks like it came out around the time of 2? I think it says 2. I brought up a list just for reference too, just for kicks. So 2008 was Far Cry. That's got to be Far Cry 2.
Do you want to know what the saddest part of this is? Far Cry is his movie. It comes out October 6th. January 11th is the name of the king. I got it in reverse. January 11th of that in November of 2008 is the name of the king. October 2nd, 2008, the same year, this guy literally filmed them back to back.
I've never
He probably just filmed them all together and took pieces from this and said, okay, this feels like a Far Cry movie. This feels like this movie. Who the fuck cares? I mean,
Peter Jackson, he is not.
Uwe Boll is why Germany had to rewrite its tax exemption and art funding for movies. Because how Uwe Boll funded a lot of these movies was using Germany's art program to fund these god-awful movies that were making no money. And the thing is, in Germany's art program, you're supposed to kind of pay it back. Like, you're supposed to help fund the arts. And his new movies were making no money.
Yeah, you can't help fund it if you make shitty movies.
Right. So, going to the next movie, you got Marky Mark and the Funky Bunks playing Max Payne.
Yeah.
I think this one is a mixed bag.
I think this one is not totally, completely awful. I think it's okay. And by the way, my bar for when I say okay, when I have to say a video game movie is okay, it's probably dog shit, just to be clear. But I have to go by the bar that we've set for video game movies at this point. So,
which is very low so far.
Yes, but
I think Tomb Raiders were highest.
Was decent. Tomb Raiders were okay. Mortal Kombat definitely the highest for sure. No question whatsoever. Yeah, I know y'all are silent.
I actually totally agree with that. Mortal Kombat, for being a PG-13 M-rated video based off an M-rated video game, should not have been that good with that good of a soundtrack.
Still fairly solid, but I can't talk about it anymore. Gavin will kill me. So Max Payne was decent.
Max Payne was very decent.
The biggest problem with Max Payne was the Judeo-Christian weird bullshit they put in the movie. If they would have just made it a hard-boiled detective, him versus like the mob mentality, and he has some sort of weird power, fine. We just
like the
explain
game?
it as like the game. Instead of introducing some weird John Constantine weird level bullshit. I think it would have been better.
Yeah.
And now for a cynic interview. Now it's time for cynic to give me an opinion.
You'd think that I would be the one to have the strongest opinion about this movie, but it's definitely going to be Gavin.
Okay. So the next movie is Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li.
The Legend of Chun-Li. Yeah, which
this movie exists.
I'm just going to go on the record and say that for as bad as it was, Street Fighter the original movie is still a fun movie.
I'm gonna mute you. Fuck you.
And
that movie does not exist.
It's still fun. You still have Raul Julia just hamming it up. And he introduces the "It was Tuesday" line. I mean, come on. If that movie hadn't existed, we would never have the day M. Bison invaded or killed your family was the most important day in your life. Yes, Rest Your Village was the most important day of your life, but for me it was Tuesday. What a beautiful, awful thing to say to a person.
Also, my other favorite line in that movie is them watching the destruction of the village on the the destruction of the base on the monitor, and Zangief going, change to the channel.
Yeah, no, he goes, quick, change the channel. Like, wow, what utter dog shit.
So at least Chun-Li wasn't quite as campy. At least they tried to focus on one character. That's why I give it credit.
But Chun-Li, this movie was no fun. This movie was zero fun. And the actor, I see the actor who plays Bison pop up every so often. He was in Wonder Woman. What Irish character was he in Wonder Woman? He's like a shorter actor. I can see his face and I'd know it instantly. I just can't remember.
Oh, the one that had PTSD? The one that actually had shell shock and he had to like, in the original Wonder Woman movie you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that one, this guy was a shorter guy, and I think he was obsessed with explosives. Maybe I can't quite remember.
You can't have a short guy play Bison.
Here, I'm gonna look up. I mean, the list is right here. What's this? I'm looking it up. What's this dude's name? Was
my problem with the
Neil McDonough. Okay, so Neil McDonough. If you look up Neil McDonough, you'd see him like instantaneously. You'd know who he was. Yeah, he was in a ton of movies that we've all probably seen since we're nerds.
What I was gonna say was
gotta give him credit.
My problem with the Chun-Li movie was it felt like a CW pilot. Like all these really pretty people and Chun-Li, because Chun-Li, the actress who played Chun-Li was in Smallville. I'm trying to remember who she played. She played Lana, not Lennon. Was it Lana Lane? She played Clark's love interest before Lois shows up.
I want to say that's Lana, but I never watched Smallville. But I'm just going by comics deal. But all I can say is I'm very surprised we've been talking about the Legend of Chun-Li as long as we have, because it's bad and
yeah,
it's barely worth mentioning. Next is I'm very surprised I haven't seen it. We have Tekken. I never did see Tekken, so I don't know what kind of how bad they hammed it up.
I preferred the anime movie over the live action because I love Tekken.
Tekken is awesome. I love Tekken.
The good news is for Gavin, everyone shared that opinion with that movie because it got a Rotten Tomato score of 0.
I mean,
yeah,
I wouldn't call that an agreement. That sounds like it got shot on pretty bad. Did you see it?
The problem.
He said that he liked the animated version better.
You can't easily translate a fighting game into a movie. There's too many stories, too many characters. You're not going to please everybody. Well, whereas the anime versions of these movies seem to handle it much better than the live action ones.
A lot of them do. I mean, let's say, for instance, the next movies that are going to be coming up. I mean, we have Prince of Persia, which I skipped Prince of Persia, but then we have Resident Evil Afterlife and Retribution. And those movies are fairly good. Those are the CG Resident Evil movies.
Oh, yeah.
Those are solid. They're really solid. And I think whenever a series goes out of its way and they make an animated movie or a CG movie, like we had these Resident Evil movies, you had Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge.
I think the thing about that is, one, it's easier to do what you need to do. Hey, Happies. And secondly, the studios are really involved with the animated movies.
That's what I was going to say.
Capcom made the Resident Evil ones.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to give them credit for that.
And you don't have the big producers kind of hanging over people's shoulders and making changes left and right and throwing things out there at random to kind of please shareholders and stuff. You don't really have that. You have to be a bit more synchronized when it comes to these animated movies, I think.
I think that also boils out from the fact that with the live action movies, they're trying to get the people who have not been part of the gaming community or the movies. They're like, oh, we want to get Jean-Claude Van Damme in the Street Fighter 2 movie because Jean-Claude Van Damme was really popular at the time. It's not that he knew like Street Fighter or like with we skipped over, but I didn't want to talk about it, which is Prince of Persia. Like they had a lot of big.
We can talk about that. That was Gyllenhaal, wasn't it? I just never saw it. Or otherwise, I'd love to talk about it.
It was.
I feel like Prince of Persia was massively miscast.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was miscast on the level of Gods of Egypt.
Mm.
Yeah, it's Jake Gyllenhaal playing a Persian prince, and they had to get skin tanning lotion and stuff on him to make him browner.
Well, that's never good.
Every time the movie was either English or American, with no Persian descendants. In fact, even the extras weren't even Persian.
Well,
so that was a major problem with that film.
I mean, that's a problem, but I think the bigger to your point, when we talk about Jean-Claude Van Damme and things like that, I think Jean-Claude Van Damme is a perfectly serviceable actor, which is why he was a big name back then. I mean, he's not a super great actor, but if you have a decent director and people who give a shit enough to put it together and get these people to act and do their thing, I think you might be able to put together a decent movie. But I think these are all video games kind of in their infancy, and you can start seeing, I think, like later in like more recent years, you're starting to have people who grew up with video games are starting to direct, are starting to act, and you can see
it just took a little while.
You can see a big difference when these people and artists are growing up.
Did you just say that video games were its infancy in 2010 when Prince of Persia was on its 8th video game?
These franchises were not in their infancy.
I'd say that when it comes to video game movies, and when we're talking about like time, like just in general, this is video games in their infancy, because people who are growing up with video games aren't quite embedded in the industry as they are now. Like video games are pop culture now. They're popular. You have actors streaming. You have actors who are acting in movies who are fun, and now you have directors and actors who know if you treat a movie okay, you can maybe make some money out of it.
There's a prime example of that we will get to on this list. But what is next on this list?
It'll
okay, since we skipped all around, I've been trying to keep track. The next one is Silent Hill Revelation. No, we're skipping all the Resident Evils except for Retribution and Retaliation.
Well, that's
what talked about.
We touched on Retribution, Afterlife, Revelation. You're right. Silent Hill Revelation, 2012.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, that happened. Yep.
Not good. I adore the first one. The second one, I'm not a fan of Revelation.
My problem with Silent Hill Revelation was at no point were you rooting for the main character to survive. She let 3 people at one point die. She's like,
you should never vote for the main character in a survival horror movie to try to survive, because you know they're there for a reason.
But I'm saying, in Claire's case, or Anna's case,
And what it was 2012, and the other one came out in 2006. So 6 years later, you shit out a sequel to Silent Hill. You even bring Sean Bean back. But I mean, I remember watching this movie and being excited that they were actually continuing the story proper. And Sean Bean didn't last long, which he never does.
Does he ever?
But they give him a little screen time, you know. Here they didn't.
What James got in the third game. This is so Silent Hill. Looking it up, Revelations is based off the third game.
Yeah, they took a lot of stuff from the third one.
Yeah, it's literally the third game, except for a couple points. James in the game is killed. In the intro, you never see his body. You see a pile of goo that used to be James, and he's dead.
Spoilers!
I mean, that's the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, for those who haven't played Silent Hill 3, it's old.
Yeah.
All right, next up.
Next we have Need for Speed.
Game.
Didn't need it. We had Fast and the Furious. I'm sorry,
I think that's why they did this one, is because Fast and Furious is so amazing, and that's not based on a video game.
No.
It was Walt Disney Production Studios wanting their... Okay, hold on. I'm lining that up correctly. Nope.
That was 20th.
Sorry.
It was Walt Disney. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because Disney also did Prince of Persia.
Yes. We'll get it. So my thing is, Need for Speed wasn't that bad. When you're talking about a game that's entire premise is you got to go fast and on the road. It's like, okay, you wanted your version of Fast and the Furious, and you wanted a name attached to it that will get people to come. It wasn't the worst idea. I think if this was a movie that if old cable days were still a thing for me, and like I had a bad case of insomnia, and this was like on at Showtime at 3 a.m, I might watch it. Like it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing to watch. It's not bad. It's just not good.
Yeah. It's just there. It's you know.
It's a movie you hope to fall asleep to.
Yeah, you can turn it on, fall asleep to it, do the dishes. It's there. It's fine.
Hitman. Sorry. I was gonna say what's the next movie. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, we've already talked about Hitman. What's after that?
Hitman. Yeah, and that's Timothy Olyphant and everything like we talked about. That was 2015.
So now we get to the quote unquote cultural revelation movie that was supposed to be the end all of video game movies. We get to Warcraft, the movie.
Which
I don't know what you guys' problems are. This is a fun movie.
No, I agree with you completely. I watched it in theaters when it went to the $1, and I was genuinely surprised. It was a solid, fun movie. It's fun. It's good.
It was done by someone who loves Warcraft.
Yeah.
It was a prequel story, set up the world.
Definitely
I thought it was gorgeous looking.
Yeah, it definitely took some liberties, and I think that the budget definitely went to the effects and not the actors. But the actors did a damn good job. I think everybody put 100% of their effort into it. It's clear that they did.
I don't understand why people don't like it.
It's not. I wouldn't say
it's not
for
World
everybody.
of Warcraft, which is what everybody's used to. It's Warcraft the RTS.
Yes.
I think if they would have, I think this is like Hollywood lacks a lot of times of communication. Like if they would have said this movie is a prequel set of events that will explain the World of Warcraft, like this is not World of Warcraft. This is going to be the events leading to that movie.
I think
that's not the 3 games.
I also think that because they did take some liberties with it for sure with regard to the original, Warcraft 1 through 3 story. They definitely took a few liberties, but I would also say that I think my best way to describe that is they took the movie and they said, let's make the absolute best sci-fi TV movie that there's ever been. And so they made the TV movie for sci-fi, but it's solid. It's good. It's like it's like before Sharknado, someone said, let's try and do a real movie and do it really well. Hey, let's do Warcraft. I want to say Sharknado probably came before this.
You cannot put Sharknado and Warcraft in the same bucket.
No, what the bucket I'm putting them in is made for TV movies, and I'm going to go ahead and do some research just because I don't know when Sharknado came out, the original one. When was it? 2013. Sharknado was already out. So I think maybe Sharknado lowered the bar for sci-fi movies, or maybe it raised it. I don't know. I'd say Warcraft took the made-for-TV movie formula and just stuck it with steroids, jacked it up, and it's a fun, solid. It's solid. It's a solid movie.
I'm gonna say is my biggest problem with this movie is they marketed the fuck out of it, and when people were like, "This isn't World of Warcraft. This isn't explaining the thing. What the hell's going on?" and only the people who actually played the original RTS games were like, "Okay, I know what's going on," which is nowhere near the population of people who played World of Warcraft.
But both those games do live in the same universe. The history is still there before World of Warcraft.
The history is the same in World of Warcraft. It's a sequel to Warcraft 3. World of Warcraft is technically.
Yes, it actually when you bought Warcraft 3, there was a disc that had a trailer for the game. I worked at Fry's when.
We're not talking about Fry's again.
I'm saying I worked at Fry's when the movie came out.
It all comes back to Fry's, Gavin.
It always does. All right, what's after Warcraft?
It always comes back.
A movie that no one went and saw, Assassin's Creed.
That movie fucking sucked. I hated that movie. I'm not against
I like how out of
franchise.
all of the movies, Gavin's first Assassin's Creed is the first
I missed
one
it, so I couldn't. Why did it suck?
Fucking sucked. It looked beautiful, but they went way off because I know the story of the video games because a friend of mine loves them.
Yeah.
There's aliens, there's sci-fi, there's all sorts of fun stuff in it. This movie was so stupid. Just dumb. They took the general idea and Uwe bowled it. He may as well have made this movie.
Well, I remember when this movie was coming out and being marketed, and I thought, wow, I might see this in theaters. It looks super good. The effects looked great. The costumes, the graphics, everything looked really good. Who was the main character?
Michael Fassbender.
That's right. Yeah, I was thinking Magneto, but I couldn't remember his name. Yes.
And just so y'all don't think I'm crazy, my friend who loves the series cannot stand this movie either.
Yeah, it's bad. I like Assassin's Creed up to a point when they killed a certain character. And I'm like, you killed the main character of the franchise. We wanted to make it where you were the main character. I'm like, no, I want to watch this punk kid go from a punk kid to a badass assassin. And I want to take a couple games to do it, but that's going to be awesome. Nope, we're going to kill him. Fuck you.
To their credit, I liked the one that when you're a pirate also. That was fun. And the next one where you're twins in Paris, that one's also fun.
I'm just over it.
There's twins in London. And I always ask people, my favorite was Black Flag, which was the one with the pirates. I always ask people, what did you like about it? Did you like the pirate part or the assassins part? And more times I get the pirate part. I'm like, you didn't like Assassin's Creed. You like the pirate part of the game.
I mean, I like the assassin part of it. I really do like the Assassin's Creed series as a series. I just haven't played one since it was free when I bought my Xbox One. That's which was the one that came out when it was Unity. Unity was the one that came out, and it was real jacked up. By the time I bought it, it had been patched, and it was a serviceable game. So anyway, so
don't watch it.
Next, Resident Evil final chapter.
We should actually touch on this. This is the final chapter. This is it. This is supposedly where we'll have no more Resident Evil movies until they decide to. The rumor of making a remake of the first one was still involving his wife.
Apparently a Netflix series, right? Is what I'm hearing.
Really good.
No. The Netflix series is based off the animated movies that the Capcom has been doing.
Okay.
Which looks really, really cool. Apparently, Washington gets infected with the virus.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
But not the planet, just the District of Columbia.
So I will say that the final chapter did have a pretty halfway decent twist, and the way that they kill Wesker, he's the bad guy. Spoiler alert: Wesker is murdered in awesome fashion when she blows his side open with a grenade. That was pretty cool. There's a big revelation that, okay, she's cloned. She's always been a clone. Our Alice that we know has always been a clone. And the actual Alice is old. Big revelation. You have to sit through. This movie was so painfully cut together. Like, there's a jump scare every 2 seconds. There's like, blah, every 2 seconds. And there's constant cutting to make you think there's stuff going on. And it's very hard to watch. Yeah. Off. It's rough.
Now, moving on I made the joke about Assassin's Creed where nobody went and saw that movie. Here's a movie I swear I've heard people think they've seen this movie, but they haven't. Tomb Raider.
Saw it.
No, not that movie. The other one.
It's the prequel one.
Definitely saw it. No, it's not the prequel one. It's the one that was based off the rebooted video game series.
Which is a prequel.
It is. No, it is.
Is it?
Yes.
It's her first adventures as young Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
I heard it was a full-on reboot.
It's both. Because the first game is just called Rise of the Tomb Raider or just Tomb Raider, and then the next one is called Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's where she takes the title of Tomb Raider. But the first game is literally her first adventure, and it's how she becomes the Lara Croft we know.
I mean, it is, but I could have sworn it was a full-blown reboot.
No, it's both. That's what I'm saying. It's both. It's a reboot of the franchise, but they're rebooting it as with a prequel to explain the character.
I'm not going to argue. I will have to look it up, but I won't argue with it. I'll give it to you for now, since I don't know for sure. The movie's fine.
The movie's serviceable.
Yeah, the movie's serviceable. It basically took all the major scenes from the reboot prequel video game and went, okay, we'll take those. And we'll make them a little less painful to watch.
And it was really good. It was
fun.
I
really enjoyed the games. My problem is Tomb Raider is like Doom. There's certain elements. You need supernatural element, some fun tomb exploring elements, and this one's really missing that fantasy supernatural element.
It's got a little bit of it, but it's definitely more grounded in reality for sure.
Yeah.
Here's a movie I actually liked, but it was just because it was so stupid and fun. I liked it. Rampage.
Rampage is a great movie.
It's great, but it's dumb as fuck.
It's stupid.
This movie would get lost in a paper bag.
It's if they called it anything else but Rampage, it would just be a fun monster movie. And
I like how we disappointed Gavin in this
I couldn't finish watching this movie.
I love this movie. I really do. I think it's a super fun monster romp. It's totally self-aware also. My problem with it, of course, is that George, Lizzie, and Ralph, they're not human. They're not infected humans, which is a problem. You have this thing that mutates animals, which makes George a sympathetic character, but I would have liked to see all of them be semi-sympathetic and have been human, but still you get to see the three monsters smash up everything. And when you watch the final scene between Lizzie, George, and Ralph, I can't not watch it and think I'm watching an oversized wrestling match, because Lizzie is totally the monster, like what Kane used to be, like this unstoppable beast. And then you have George, who is like the baby face, The Rock. And then you have Ralph, who is like the luchador, the flippy flying one, who gets taken out in about 2 seconds. So they didn't do justice to Ralph. But
it was
still,
fun.
It was fun. It's fun.
I like I said, I liked it, but I liked it for what it was, which was I wanted a giant monster movie where they wreck a city. I got a giant monster movie where they wreck the city.
They do.
And Dwayne Johnson gets to beat up on the guy from The Walking Dead / also Supernatural.
Negan.
Negan gets his.
I'm gonna have to try to finish it. I just couldn't.
It's legitimately fun.
Gavin, just ask for explosions, and you'll get explosions.
Yeah, just don't think about the
that's
video.
That's all I really need to make me happy.
Yeah, just forget that it's called Rampage and that it's a video game movie, and ignore the arcade references that they have in that lady's office. Just ignore it and have fun with a monster movie. It's fun, definitely fun. And The Rock is awesome in that.
All right, what's after Rampage?
This one I forgot was a video game until I got reminded. Dead Trigger, made by actually Saban Films.
I don't know what Dead Trigger is. I've actually never heard of that game.
Yeah, neither have I. It's a science fiction horror movie, but yeah, it's on the list, and yeah, it's Mad Finger Games is the company.
Dolph Lundgren, huh?
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren. Oh, it's the game it's based off of is made by the same people who did. It's Mayfair. Mad Finger Games.
Mad Finger, yeah.
Hold on, I'm looking up the game itself. I think I've heard of this game.
Looks like a zombie movie.
Probably is a zombie game.
It's called Dead Trigger. It has to be.
Well, it didn't have to be.
It's a first person. It's your stereotypical first person. It's a mobile game too. So it started off with a mobile game. And
is this our first mobile game movie?
Wow.
So
you are scratching the bottom of the I want to make this movie when you go to a mobile game.
Here's the thing. I didn't know it was mobile. I'm like looking at this game, well, no, it's not that bad. It looks like a PS2 era kind of, indie action-y sort of game. And I'm like, then I see the screen where you can see where you're supposed to tap, and it's on Steam and a couple other places. But yeah, It's also a mobile game.
Mm.
There's a sequel, Dead Trigger 2, even deader.
Well, no wonder I never heard of it.
By the way,
we gotta move on. I can't handle this.
Before we move on, though, Saban Films, I want to do an entire episode of like a fan service episode style on Saban Films because somehow they get the most top talent in the world to do their movies.
Huh.
There's a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie he's in. That's a Saban film movie.
That's funny. I'm thinking Saban, like I immediately think Power Rangers whenever I think Saban. So
they're expanding.
If you look up Saban Films, he's got this movie like about a paramedics who save like a superhero, and they have to keep him alive and take him to like this destination in a an ambulance to stop the end of the world. And it's about these paramedics who's trying to like keep the superhero alive. It's and then so after Dead Trigger, we get to movies people will remember. Detective Pikachu. That was a really good movie.
So now we're starting to enter an era where we actually have several halfway decent video game movies in a row. This when I say it was in its infancy before, I'm talking about
we're full swinging out now.
We're starting to get to the point where they're getting it. People are starting to get it.
Detective Pikachu was brilliant. The way they translated that world into reality is an impossible fucking task.
They did a great job.
Fucking did what needed to be done.
They did. And for anybody who's like, oh, there wasn't enough fights and there wasn't enough whatever, like, dude, you know that you're watching a Pokemon movie. Have you ever watched a Pokemon show? Like, it's pretty much the show, except live action. It's like, you're not going to have brutal Pokemon combat in real life. You're going to have a fun Pokemon movie.
There was some of that in there.
There was a little.
If you want to see
that Pokemon Underground Arena battle was fantastic. It had the DJ Pokemon, like, that movie is everything.
It was fun.
It is a dark If those who want a dark series, there's a fan-made dark Pokemon series which talks about the real ramifications of a world where kids are taught to how to fight with their animals and how bad that world can get.
Yeah, who wants to hear that shit?
It's a made-up video game system and world. It's all cute. It's fine. Let's move on.
All right.
So the next one, we're going to have to stop and let Gavin talk. The next movie is Sonic the Hedgehog.
You have been oddly silent. Talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, please.
Fuck yes. It suffers from my biggest problem with these movies set in fantasy worlds where they insist on taking it to Earth.
Yeah.
They should have kept it there, but at least they explained the rings and all that, how he got here.
And they showed other worlds.
They did.
Also, for a little
bit. A million times yes with this movie, because this is exactly when you know a studio listens and cares, because the original Sonic design tore up the internet.
Yeah.
So they literally went back and just went to scratch and did it right.
I am fully convinced, by the way, that they did that on purpose. I really am.
I'm right there with Cedric. They did that. They did that on purpose.
You know how much time it takes to have to re-render that model for all those shots? That's money.
I mean, it does, but what if they had the original model already done and they just did the fake one for the trailers? I don't know. I remember it's probably not, but it wouldn't take much to convince me. It really wouldn't.
I will say this. I think what they were banking on was the Deadpool syndrome. They released Deadpool in February thinking it was going to flop because it wasn't going to make any money, and it becomes the highest grossing rated R movie of all time. They released Sonic the Hedgehog on February 14th.
Was not a Deadpool movie. It was not that style because the Sonic fandom is rabid. I remember waking up and watching that trailer first thing in the morning and being so mad I threw my phone.
Yeah, who better to make a bunch of noise and market your movie for you when it gets fixed? I mean, come on.
But that was the real actual design. The director came out and said, because they were trying to ground it in reality. And they're like, you have a fucking talking blue 3-foot hedgehog
Yeah.
that runs really fucking fast.
Go full on cartoon with it, and they did,
yeah.
and it looks great. And the thing about that movie also, even though they put it in the real world, they also went ahead and made Sonic move like he would, whether he was in the real world or not, and had all the combat as if he were doing everything in the real in his own games and stuff. It was totally good. It was great. And Jim Carrey as Robotnik, like if I saw this movie as a kid, I would have freaked out, because as a kid I had a Sega. I was all in on Sonic during the Genesis era, and of course I was a huge Ace Ventura fan and Dumb and Dumber fan when I was a kid. So this movie would have been everything to me when I was a kid, and it's solid. It's great.
Yeah, the movie
It was
so
the
good.
last
Reminded
thing we
you
saw
that
right before COVID hit.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No, Gavin, what I mean
That was
they were trying to
February 2020. Okay.
when I say that they were trying to hope for a Deadpool scenario, was they put Deadpool in February because they were afraid that wasn't, because any movie that comes out in February, it's the studio going, well, if this movie will have no blockbuster going against it, we'll hope it makes its money back, because that's what February is. February is a dump month. They put it in February with the knowledge that it was a dump movie, so it was guaranteed to make its money back no matter what. What they weren't expecting was to make as much money as it did, and they did.
And the
They made a
reason
lot of
they
money.
did is because they listened to the fans.
They listened. They absolutely
They
did.
got their
They
marketing
said, hey.
department.
And February is no longer that dumb month.
Yeah.
February's become a very busy month because it's the start of the year, leading into the summer season now. Because they now start the summer season early March into February, which is way too early, I think. But they do have to be strategic around Marvel because that kills every week.
Yeah.
So I understand.
Yeah. And I'd say the other thing. I think they didn't want to fight. What was 2020's or what was 2019's Marvel movie? Because it got delayed long enough.
Wasn't that Endgame?
I
I think Endgame or Captain Marvel was 2019. So was Spider-Man.
I'm looking it up right now. It is Endgame, Captain Marvel, and Far From Home.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you guys,
they
gotta
delayed
work
it
around
on
those.
purpose.
Plus,
They delayed it on purpose.
I don't think they really understood just how crazy the Sonic fandom is. I know I probably talked to you. You've heard the show before, but I love going to the Sonic panel at South by Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
God bless people who love Sonic, but when you're pissing your pants because you see a still image you've never seen before, you got some problems.
Well, what was the? Well, they just
That's
had a
not
Sonic
all
event.
Sonic fans, by the way. It's I have to step up for the Sonic fans a little bit. You know, I haven't been like a Sonic fan since the Genesis era. But man, oof! Every time you tell me that story, it gives me. It gives me the creeps, man. It really
I have
gives me
the
the
official
creeps.
Sonic the Hedgehog board game. I kickstarted
Yeah.
it. They were nitpicked over every little thing by the Sonic fandom. A shade of color, the placement of a U on somebody's chest. They wanted specific characters. So they ended up putting everything into the game. But they had a nightmare just trying to get people. Well, these are just prototypes.
Yeah.
They nitpicked everything. And I know fandoms can get real crazy, but there's something about the Sonic fandom that just puts it a little different from these other fandoms that I've dealt with. Because I could sit in a Star Wars panel and fandom's great. They love or hate it, whatever. I can sit with anime fans that love or hate it. None of them have literally pissed themselves over a still image.
I have to say this. I think the video of there was some diehard Sonic YouTuber who got kicked out of a mall like indefinitely because he destroyed the Sonic Boom display over like Sonic's design and like tried to destroy the store. Like he was tearing up the store.
And I'm like, y'all, I was there when Sonic was created.
Nick, Sonic, you're going robot. Speaking of Robotnik, Sonic.
Let's see if I can fix this real quick, shall we?
So that's why I enjoy the Sonic movie so much. Is they did it right for original and new people like these people that we have now. I just wish they would have put it in the Sonic world. because Sonic lives in a world like we have now. You play Sonic Adventure, you see that. You go to the city, you do all that. There was no need for them to set it on Earth when he was already on Earth.
Well, he was on orbit, but it's because it's easier to make the U.S. government happy. I don't know.
It's not that. It's just budget-wise. It's the same thing what they did with fucking He-Man. I cannot stand that live-action movie because there's no Orko and there's no Eternia. Yes, Franklin Jealous Skeletor was awesome, but the rest of the movie was a piece of shit. Cosmic He, whatever the fuck that troll dwarf thing was, give me fucking Orko. Give me actual He-Man characters.
Speaking of Orko, badass Orko?
Fuck you. Okay, what's next?
All right, next we have, it's divisive. How do I sound okay, by the way?
You sound great.
Good. Unplugging and plugging back in fixes everything always. Yeah.
I'm gonna let y'all talk about Monster Hunter before I get into this.
Well, that was not garbage.
I saw
my Monster Hunter movie.
Let's see, Monster Hunter. I watched Monster Hunter during, what was it? I think it was during the big freeze. It was on one of the streaming services, I think. And so we turned it on after everything was frozen over and we had nothing else to do.
So make yourself suffer more?
Well, I mean, really, yeah, it's a Paul W.S. Anderson, Mila Jovovich joint, but it was much, I was, thinking it was going to be an unwatchable mess like Resident Evil: The Final Chapter was, and it wasn't. It was fairly well made, and I personally like Mila Jovovich. I think she's freaking great. And so I think she did an awesome job as her character. They were transported into the Monster Hunter world that didn't take place in the real world. Yeah, it took a character who lived in the real world and threw them in the Monster Hunter universe. And I think they spent a little too long in the desert, which I think is, one way to save some money. But I think they did move out of the desert. They did give you a few other monsters. You had, I mean, the Black Diablos is the one that was the main thing.
Just Diablos. It was just Diablos itself.
Is it Diablos? Okay, well, the Diablos was like kind of the main monster for a while, but they did move on to other monsters, and also you had Tony Jaa in the movie, and yeah, you didn't get to see him be fully acrobatic martial arts Tony Jaa, but I think he did well enough. And then you did add characters who were very Monster Hunter-like. And you even added a Pelico in there, the chef from Monster Hunter World, and he did his chef thing where he cooked for everybody. And I was like, unfortunately, it ended on a Resident Evil, whichever movie it was that ended at the White House when all the monsters are swarming and you cut the best part. So they ended on like a cliffhanger, which was frustrating, but the rest of the movie wasn't that bad. But I know.
That's a Paul W.S. Anderson thing to do. When he did the Three Musketeers live action with his wife Mila Jovovich as being a character in the Three Musketeers movie, he ended it with was it France or England with airships invading Spain? And it was like every one of his movies is a cliffhanger. Even the fucking final chapter had I could make more movies. It doesn't have to be. This could be the final chapter of this. Yeah. I can keep going on, and it's Paul W. Anderson going, please give me more work. Monster Hunter had 3 monsters in it. That's great, and they were the super popular ones that you decided to put in, and you had one character that was in it that knew what the fuck they were doing, and he was hardly in that movie until they needed him to be. And I know one person who really wanted to see this because of purely just the costumes. And I'm like, what about the story? I don't care about the story. I just care about the costumes. I'm like...
So I have a love-hate relationship with this movie.
And now I'll let go. Go ahead, go for it.
They got the monsters right. They didn't get them out of them right.
They got spot on with the monsters.
Spot on with the monsters. The world was okay, but again, they did the let's bring someone from Earth somewhere because that's the stupidest trope. They should have just stuck it with a band of hunters, come up with a story in the monster universe, and been fine. But you cannot do a fucking Monster Hunter movie without any actual monster hunting. It without actual monsters.
I'll agree with you.
At least the Warcraft movie had all this background stuff that just teased people like they saw things that they loved. That was a love letter to that game.
It was.
This was
I loved it.
Maybe I like playing Monster Hunter, but I just want to play with these swords. They spent way too much fucking time stuck on a rock in the desert. I thought that was the whole fucking movie, because when they finally got it, I was like, yes! And then it was over.
There was a certain part of that movie where I was like, oh man, they're going to be in this desert like the whole time, aren't they? They move out of it for a little while, which was a nice break.
Like, I think for about 10 minutes, they're out of the desert.
Yeah.
Is Paul W. Anderson and Mila Jovovich have a house in like Egypt or something? Because that's where they film all these desert scenes, like in the Middle East. Like, do they have a house there?
It's just it's cheap. It's way cheaper. Yeah.
I know, but they better have a fucking house there. But how many times they film their movies there? Like almost all of the Resident Evil movies, Apocalypse On, are all filmed in the Middle East because it's desert and he can get away with cheap desert scenes.
Yeah, I'm just hoping there will be more, because you're right. This felt like the beginning of something, because we deserve fucking better.
But it'll be Paul W. Anderson, so it's gonna be him and his wife.
Let's let Capcom make an animated movie. Done.
Yeah.
And then the final movie, how we're ending this is Rival and Cynic go on.
The only way it can end.
How it ended is how it started. Mortal Kombat.
So, yeah, we've already discussed it. We did a whole half-hour segment on it.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's where it ended. And now, real fast, I'm going to go through.
To be fair, during the time we were supposed to to be fair, the first time we were supposed to talk about this movie, you said, I could go on about it all day. Give me like a couple of sentences, I think it was. And,
so you got like 5 sentences.
Yeah, so you
still would be on that, so don't even look at me like I'm crazy.
Oh no, I'm not saying I'm not saying that you shouldn't restrict me, because you should, but
oh shit.
Yes, ending with Mortal Kombat is definitely, I mean, it's appropriate because it's the last major release, and I mean, I definitely could go on and on about it, but I would say it's definitely, I still have the same opinion that I had when I saw it the first time, which is everyone clearly tried their best. The director clearly knew the source material and stuff, and I think a few things were miscast, unfortunately, and unfortunately, stuff like Goro was just kind of like, they had a few throwaway characters who were just there to die. Goro was one of them, which didn't make any sense. Who else? Melina was just kind of there, like without katana. That didn't make sense. They had the marks that transferred, and that's what gave people their powers. And Raiden, like no, the original, you chose people because they're badass warriors. So that didn't make sense to me. But when you and then Outworld was like, every time they cut to Outworld, there was a stone bridge with a throne, and that's all you saw. Or it was at the bottom of a desert with on cracked ground, and the only thing that distinguished that from a normal Earth desert is a giant CG statue of Goro, who, by the way, dies pretty quickly. So I definitely have my problems with it, but you turn off your brain, there's a fun, fairly well acted, great looking action movie in there. So
we're out of time. I've got to get this wrapped up.
Can I go through? Can I say why? Because I just thought it released an expletive, and I thought I'd explain why I released an expletive. Apparently, Screen Gems, the company that is run by Paul W. Anderson, is making a movie called Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, which is going to be the series of events between movie 1 and movie 2.
Yeah, I'm looking at to be released with you. So yeah, Welcome to Raccoon City. I mean, could be fun. Apocalypse was fun. So Paul W.S. Anderson has the potential to make fun movies for sure. He's made them before, so
we'll see.
Hope it's good. Definitely.
So this weekend, y'all, it's E3. We'll be doing live videos at E3. Plus, we'll do a recap Sunday night. So be with us Sunday. And then we'll be back at the end of the month before we take our quick summer vacation. Maybe we'll talk about movies that are coming up. I don't know. you'll have to tune in and find out. So thank you guys for watching. And say bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Oh, you always do that, Pocky. I'm going to mute you now.